I used to say things to myself like, I suck. I'm an idiot. When things would go wrong, I would half-jokingly say, I want to die or kill me. If I made a mistake, I would cuss myself out. I didn't really see an issue with this until one day a friend heard me talking like this and they said, how dare you speak death over a child of God? And this struck me. I'm a child of God, and yet I'm saying things to myself that God would never say to me. And I wouldn't say these things to anyone else. So why then is it okay to say them to myself? The way we talk to ourselves is referred to as self-talk. And I had a tendency for a long time to be really mean to myself through negative self-talk. But why does this matter? Do our words actually affect anything? I think they do. And I actually believe God designed us this way. In Genesis 1 and 2, we read the story of God creating the earth. He calls forth creation with his words. He doesn't think it into existence. He doesn't make it with his hands. He speaks. And God said, let there be light. And as the final act of creation, he says, let us create man in our image, after our likeness. God speaks mankind into existence, and he says it's good. And for a long time, I thought this idea of being made in God's image just meant that we looked like mini versions of God. You know, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. But I actually think that Scripture is speaking to more than just how we look. Right after God creates man and woman, he tells them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and the birds of the air, and every living thing that moves on the earth. This is what it means to be made in God's image. We are co-creators with God. We're made to help him cultivate and rule over earth. And the very first thing that man does in this process of ruling is name every living creature. We see man begins his rule with words. Genesis is giving us a clue to the power of our words. And this theme continues throughout the story of Scripture. On multiple occasions, God will change someone's name right after he changes the course of their life. And in Hebrew culture, names had a greater significance than they do today. The Bible is telling us that the things we speak about ourselves and over ourselves matter. Think about it. If you tell yourself every day that you're ugly, that you're worthless, a mistake, then you'll eventually begin to believe those lies, and you'll begin to live as if they were true. And if you tell yourself every day that you'll never be successful or amount to anything, then that's likely what's going to happen. And on the flip side, if you tell yourself that you're going to give today your best and achieve your goals, you'll probably find a way to make that happen. And to be clear, I'm not talking about name it and claim it gospel. The distinction is that with the name it and claim it ideology, we're deciding for ourselves what we want God to bring to reality in our life. But with this positive self-talk that we're talking about, we look to Scripture. We look to Scripture to see what God has already proclaimed over us. We replace the lies that we've believed for so long with the truth found in the Bible. And if we saw ourselves the way that God sees us, as co-creators and as his children, how differently would we live? In the same way that God created the earth with words, man rules using words. The things that we say about ourselves today often become truth. Our words have power. We must use them thoughtfully. What we say today matters. Our lives will form to the words we speak. So what will you say?